South Sudan, the world's youngest country, was born from hope and the promise of a brighter future. In 2011, after decades of conflict, its people finally celebrated independence, their dreams soaring as high as the new flag. The streets of Juba filled with jubilation, and for a moment the world watched with optimism. The air was thick with possibility. Families reunited, children danced in the streets, and elders wept tears of joy for a peace they had longed for all their lives. The sense of unity was palpable, as if the entire nation breathed a collective sigh of relief. But that hope was soon overshadowed by hardship. The euphoria faded as the country was quickly plunged into turmoil and uncertainty. The dreams of a new beginning collided with the harsh realities of nation-building, scarce resources, fragile institutions, and deep-seated divisions. Years of civil war left deep scars on the land and its people, tearing apart families and communities and forcing millions to flee their homes. The echoes of gunfire and the trauma of loss lingered, as entire generations grew up knowing only conflict and displacement. Camps for the displaced became new, uncertain homes where survival was a daily struggle and the future seemed perpetually out of reach. Now, as the guns have quieted, a new battle rages, one not of bullets but of relentless rising floods that threaten to erase what little stability remains. The skies, once symbols of hope, now unleash torrents of rain, and the land, already battered by war, is pushed to its limits by nature's fury. The White Nile and its tributaries, swollen by months of unusually heavy rains, have burst their banks, turning entire villages and vast stretches of farmland into a watery wasteland. Fields that once fed families now lie submerged, and the landscape is transformed beyond recognition. The rhythm of daily life is upended. Roads disappear, schools close, and the familiar becomes foreign. The government, still fragile and under-resourced after years of conflict, is powerless to stop the water's advance. Emergency workers are overwhelmed, and the scale of the disaster dwarfs the nation's capacity to respond. With limited infrastructure and few resources, even the most basic relief efforts become monumental challenges. The Nile, once a source of life and prosperity, now brings destruction. Crops rot in the fields, homes vanish beneath the water, and entire communities are cut off from help and hope. The river that once sustained life now threatens to wash it away, leaving behind only memories of what once was. This environmental disaster piles onto existing burdens, poverty, ethnic tensions, and a lack of basic services, pushing millions to the very brink of survival. Families crowd into makeshift shelters, waiting for aid that may never come. Hunger gnaws at empty stomachs, and disease spreads quickly in cramped, unsanitary conditions. Yet amid the loss and devastation, the people of South Sudan show remarkable resilience. They refuse to give in, drawing strength from each other and from their shared determination to endure. Neighbors share what little they have, and families find ways to rebuild. Even as the waters rise around them, they adapt to the rising waters, endure the hardships, and work together to protect what little they have left. Ingenuity and cooperation become lifelines, as communities band together to build barriers, share food, and keep hope alive. Every day they fight for their families and their future, even as the floods threaten to wash away their dreams and memories. The struggle is relentless, but so is their will to survive, to hold on to hope, even when the world seems determined to take it away. The story here is not just one of devastation, but of courage, unity, and hope in the face of overwhelming odds. Communities come together, supporting one another and refusing to let despair win. In the darkest moments, the bonds of kinship and community shine brightest, offering a beacon of hope for the future. In this waterlogged nation, survival itself is an act of defiance, a daily testament to the unbreakable will of its people. Each step forward, each act of kindness is a declaration that they will not be defeated by the rising tide. The people's spirit, tested by war and now by water, remains unbroken. Their hope endures, shining through even the darkest storms. In South Sudan, resilience is not just a word, it is a way of life, a promise to the next generation that no matter how high the waters rise, hope will always find a way to float. Nearly 700,000 people have been forced from their homes by the floods, a staggering number that continues to rise as the waters spread further each day. The relentless advance of the floodwaters has turned once thriving communities into desolate landscapes where the only signs of life are the desperate movements of those trying to escape. Towns like Panyagor are now ghostly islands, surrounded by water, their residents clinging to fragile dikes for survival. Entire neighborhoods have been swallowed by the flood, leaving only rooftops and treetops visible above the waterline. The eerie silence of these submerged towns is occasionally broken by the sound of makeshift boats navigating through the watery maze, carrying those who refuse to abandon their homes. Roads and airstrips have vanished beneath the floodwaters, leaving entire regions isolated and dependent on boats. What were once bustling routes of trade and connection are now impassable, cutting off families from markets, schools, and medical care. The isolation is profound, with communities cut off from the outside world, their only lifeline being the occasional aid delivery by boat or helicopter. Displaced families arrive at overcrowded camps or makeshift islands, with nothing but the clothes on their backs. Many have walked for days through waist-deep water, carrying children and elderly relatives searching for safety. The journey is perilous, with the constant threat of drowning, disease, and exhaustion looming over them. Each step is a struggle as they navigate through the treacherous waters, hoping to find a place where they can rest and regroup. Here they face new hardships, scarce clean water, food shortages, and the constant threat of disease. The struggle for basic necessities becomes a daily reality, with children especially vulnerable to illness. The camps are overcrowded with inadequate sanitation facilities, leading to the rapid spread of waterborne diseases. The sight of children playing near muddy, stagnant water is a stark reminder of the dire conditions they are forced to endure. Communities, once self-sufficient, now rely on aid, their sense of identity and security washed away. The loss of homes and livelihoods has left many feeling powerless, forced to depend on the kindness of strangers and humanitarian organizations. The distribution of aid is a lifeline, but it is often not enough to meet the overwhelming needs of the displaced population. Families sit outside their simple shelters, staring at the ruins of their former lives, wondering how they will ever rebuild. The psychological toll is immense, families separated, children growing up without stability. The trauma of displacement lingers as loved ones search for each other and try to rebuild a sense of normalcy. The camps are filled with stories of loss and separation, with many not knowing if their loved ones are safe or even alive. The emotional scars run deep as the uncertainty of the future weighs heavily on their minds. Yet even in these dire conditions, people rebuild, forming new bonds and sharing what little they have. Acts of generosity and cooperation emerge as communities come together to face the crisis. The spirit of resilience is strong, with people working together to repair shelters, share food, and build communal structures from reeds and mud. These acts of solidarity provide a glimmer of hope in an otherwise bleak situation. Artificial islands, built from mud and reeds, become havens for hundreds, united by loss and determination. These improvised sanctuaries are a testament to human ingenuity and the will to survive. The sight of these islands rising above the floodwaters is a powerful symbol of the resilience and resourcefulness of the people of South Sudan. Despite the overwhelming challenges, they continue to find ways to adapt and survive. The instinct to reconnect and support one another persists. Even as the crisis deepens, neighbors become lifelines, sharing resources and hope in the face of overwhelming adversity. The bonds of community are strengthened as people come together to help each other through the darkest of times. The sight of people unloading supplies from boats, supporting each other in the camps, and sharing what little they have is a testament to the enduring human spirit. In the ruins, new communities rise, bound by resilience. People find strength in unity, determined to rebuild their lives from the ground up. The process of rebuilding is slow and arduous, but the determination of the people is unwavering. New settlements emerge from the flood ruins as people work together to create a new sense of normalcy. The spirit of community life is strong, with people supporting each other every step of the way. The struggle to survive is matched only by the will to endure, as hope persists, even in the most challenging circumstances. The determined faces of flood survivors tell a story of resilience and perseverance. Despite the harsh conditions, families continue to support each other, finding strength in their shared experiences. The will to endure is a powerful force, driving them to overcome the challenges they face and rebuild their lives. In South Sudan, the simple act of travel has become a test of endurance and willpower, a daily battle against the relentless forces of nature. Once familiar paths and roads which connected villages and families are now unrecognizable, submerged beneath vast sheets of water transformed by months of unyielding floods. Where there were once fields of crops and bustling footpaths, there are now endless stretches of muddy water, swallowing the land and erasing the boundaries between home and wilderness. For those forced to flee, the journey is nothing short of harrowing. Many families, clutching their few remaining possessions, crowd into rickety wooden boats, sometimes for journeys that last up to 48 hours. These boats, often overloaded and barely seaworthy, become lifelines as they glide past the rooftops of submerged homes and the skeletal remains of villages, now claimed by the flood. Beneath the murky surface, unseen dangers lurk: sharp debris, entangled vegetation, and the ever-present threat of disease-carrying insects. The journey is rarely smooth. Boats frequently become stuck in thick underwater vegetation or run aground on hidden obstacles. Passengers, already exhausted and hungry, must plunge into chest-deep water to push and free the vessels. Each time they enter the water, they risk injury from sharp objects, infection from open wounds, and exposure to waterborne diseases like cholera and typhoid. The physical toll is immense. Muscles ache, skin blisters, and spirits waver as the hours drag on. On land, the situation is no less dire. Where roads remain, they have become treacherous ribbons of mud, swallowing vehicles and stranding travellers for days. Drivers like Mohammed, who once made a living transporting goods and people, now spend endless hours digging their trucks out of the muck, sometimes moving only a few meters in an entire day. The mud is thick and unyielding, clinging to tires and boots, sapping strength and hope with every step. The struggle for clean water is a daily crisis. With wells contaminated and rivers swollen with debris, people are forced to collect water from muddy puddles and stagnant pools. Every sip is a gamble, choosing between the agony of thirst and the risk of deadly diseases. Mothers fill containers with brown, murky water, knowing it may sicken their children, but with no other options they have no choice. Clean water, once taken for granted, is now a rare and precious commodity. Anxiety and fear are constant companions on these journeys. Faces are etched with worry, parents clutching children, elders whispering prayers, neighbours exchanging anxious glances. Yet amid the uncertainty there is also remarkable solidarity. Strangers become allies, sharing food, offering hands to steady each other, and working together to navigate the treacherous waters. In the face of disaster, the bonds of community grow stronger. These journeys are not made by choice, but by necessity. Families leave behind homes, memories, and livelihoods, driven by the urgent need to find safety, food, and medical care. Each step through the mud, each hour spent in the water, is a testament to their determination to survive. Children carry younger siblings, elders lean on makeshift walking sticks, and everyone shoulders the weight of hope and loss. In these desperate times, boat captains and truck drivers become unsung heroes. They risk their own lives to ferry people and supplies across dangerous waters and impassable roads. Their knowledge of the land and their courage are invaluable as they guide convoys through submerged routes, rescue stranded families, and deliver food and medicine to isolated communities. Without their persistence, many would be left completely cut off from help. When a journey ends in safety, the relief is palpable. Families embrace, children laugh, and weary travelers allow themselves a moment of celebration. These small victories, arriving at a dry patch of land, reuniting with loved ones, or simply surviving another day, are cherished in a world where hardship is the norm. But the struggle never truly ends. Even after reaching temporary safety, the challenges persist. The mud clings to every step, making even the simplest tasks, fetching water, gathering firewood, or searching for food, a grueling ordeal. Exhaustion is ever present, a shadow that follows each traveller, threatening to overwhelm them at any moment. Yet, in every face there is a story of resilience. Eyes that have seen loss also shine with determination. Hands that tremble with fatigue still reach out to help others. The people of South Sudan refuse to surrender to despair, drawing strength from each other and from the hope that tomorrow might bring relief. In South Sudan, every mile travelled is a hard-won victory, every journey a testament to courage, endurance, and the unbreakable human spirit. Through water and mud, against all odds, they press on, each step a declaration that they will not be defeated and that hope for a better tomorrow endures even in the harshest of landscapes. In South Sudan, the devastation left by years of conflict and relentless flooding is everywhere. Roads are torn apart, bridges lie in ruins, and entire villages stand abandoned, silent witnesses to a land broken by both nature and man. With infrastructure shattered and government presence thin, violence fills the void. Armed groups and bandits now roam the flooded, lawless regions, preying on anyone who dares to travel these treacherous roads. Aid convoys, desperately needed by isolated communities, are frequent targets, ambushed, looted, and sometimes destroyed before they can deliver hope. For truck drivers like Mohammed, every journey is a gamble with death. When their vehicles get stuck in the deep, sucking mud, they become sitting targets. The fear of ambush is constant. Each breakdown could mean a deadly encounter with armed men lurking in the shadows, waiting for their next victim. The rivers, once lifelines for trade and escape, have become just as perilous. Small boats are attacked by river pirates, their goods stolen, and families left traumatized. The water offers no sanctuary, only new dangers. As desperate people risk everything to flee violence or reach safety, ethnic tensions, long simmering beneath the surface, now erupt with brutal force. Groups like the Merle are infamous for their raids. Villages are attacked in the dead of night, homes burned, children kidnapped, and entire communities left shattered in the aftermath. For nomadic herders such as the Mundari, the struggle to protect their cattle has become a battle for survival. Traditional sticks and spears have been replaced by Kalashnikovs, as herders arm themselves against both rival groups and opportunistic bandits. The need for self-defense has transformed shepherds into soldiers. Young men, once tasked with guiding livestock, now stand guard with rifles, their eyes scanning the horizon for threats. The line between survival and conflict blurs as violence becomes a daily reality. Violence is now woven into the fabric of daily life. Displaced families huddle in makeshift camps, children play within sight of armed guards, and the constant threat of attack hangs over every moment. The misery of displacement is deepened by the ever-present fear of violence. With the state unable to provide security, ordinary people are forced to take up arms. Villagers train as militias, learning to defend their homes and families against threats both old and new. The tools of war are now in the hands of those who once only sought peace. Every journey, no matter how short, is shadowed by fear. Travellers move cautiously, eyes darting for danger. Families cling together as they cross flooded landscapes, and the anxiety is etched on every face. In South Sudan, survival means facing not just the relentless forces of nature, but also the unpredictable threat posed by neighbors and strangers alike. Tensions simmer in camps and villages, where trust is fragile and every interaction can turn tense. The struggle for safety is as relentless as the floodwaters themselves. Families wade through rising waters, exhaustion and worry etched on their faces, searching for shelter in a land where both the elements and violence threaten to overwhelm them at every turn. When disaster strikes, it is not just the land that is transformed, but the very fabric of life itself. In South Sudan, the relentless floods have forced entire communities to rethink how they live, work, and survive. Yet amid the rising waters, the tribes of this region display remarkable ingenuity and resilience, adapting in ways both ancient and new. The Akwak people, for generations rooted in their ancestral lands, refuse to abandon the places of their forebears. Instead, they labor tirelessly to build tiny islands from mud, grass, and whatever materials they can salvage. These makeshift platforms rise just above the floodwaters, supporting thatched huts and providing a fragile sanctuary for families. Every day they reinforce these islands, battling the encroaching water with determination and resourcefulness. Life here is harsh and uncertain. Once fertile farmlands now lie submerged, crops lost beneath the murky water. The Akwak have been forced to adapt their diets, relying on fish caught from the floodwaters and flour made from water hyacinth, an invasive plant that now serves as a vital food source. Meals are simple, but the act of sharing them is a testament to their enduring connection to the land and to each other. For the Mundari, adaptation takes a different form. As nomadic cattle herders, their lives revolve around the majestic Ankole Watusi cattle, whose long sweeping horns are a symbol of wealth and survival. The Mundari move constantly, guiding their herds through flooded plains in search of the rare patches of dry ground and scarce pasture. Their entire culture is intertwined with these animals, and every journey is a test of endurance and tradition. The Mundari's survival depends on ancient practices passed down through countless generations. Cow urine, once used for ritual and hygiene, now serves as a crucial antiseptic, protecting wounds from infection in the damp, disease-prone environment. To ward off relentless swarms of mosquitoes, herders sit in the smoke of burning cow dung, a practice that, while old, has become more essential than ever in the face of new health threats brought by the floods. Elders play a vital role, teaching the youth not only how to survive, but how to preserve the customs and stories that define their people. Around the fireside, families gather to share oral traditions, passing on knowledge of the land, the animals, and the ways to endure hardship. These lessons are more than memories. They are lifelines, anchoring the next generation in a world that is rapidly changing. In the face of overwhelming change, both the Akwak and Mundari demonstrate that adaptation is not just possible but necessary. Communities come together, sharing resources and knowledge, helping one another to rebuild homes, tend to livestock, and find new ways to sustain their livelihoods. The spirit of cooperation grows stronger as the challenges mount. The resilience of these people is etched into their faces, lines of hardship but also of hope. Each day they confront adversity with courage, drawing strength from their heritage and from the bonds of community. Their determination is a powerful reminder that survival is not just about endurance, but about adaptation and unity. In South Sudan, survival is a delicate balance, a blend of ancient wisdom and the ability to meet new challenges head-on. Old and young alike navigate the flooded landscape, carrying forward the legacy of their ancestors while forging new paths through adversity. Here, adaptation is not just a response to disaster, it is a way of life and a testament to the enduring spirit of South Sudan's tribes. In the wake of relentless floods, the familiar rhythms of life have been swept away. Fields that once yielded crops now lie underwater, and traditional ways of earning a living have all but disappeared. Yet, amid this devastation, the people of South Sudan are forging a new path, one shaped by necessity, resilience, and ingenuity. Many have turned to the river for survival, becoming fishermen almost overnight. With the Nile swollen far beyond its banks, they cast their nets into new waters, transforming disaster into opportunity. Fishing, once a supplementary activity, has become a primary source of food and income for countless families. On artificial islands and makeshift camps, entire communities have organized themselves to process and dry Nile perch. Here, families work side by side, salting and preserving fish to ensure it lasts through the lean months. These camps have become hubs of activity, giving rise to a new informal economy that sustains hundreds. Once dried, the fish is loaded onto boats and transported downriver to Juba and other towns. This trade not only supports families in the flood-affected regions, but also funds children's education and provides a crucial source of protein for distant communities. The river has become a lifeline, connecting remote villages to the wider economy. The informal fish trade, born out of crisis, now pulses at the heart of local economies. Markets once filled with grains and vegetables now bustle with the commerce of dried fish, providing jobs and hope where there was once only loss. Former farmers and drivers, whose livelihoods were washed away, have joined forces to build new supply chains from scratch. They coordinate transport, manage logistics, and ensure that goods reach their destinations, demonstrating remarkable adaptability and teamwork in the face of adversity. These community members refuse to be passive victims. Instead, they have become active agents of their own survival, taking control of their destinies and inspiring others with their determination and resourcefulness. The river, once feared as a force of destruction, is now embraced as a source of hope and renewal. It provides not only sustenance but also a sense of purpose and possibility for the future. In the face of overwhelming adversity, the people of South Sudan have reinvented themselves, proving that even in the harshest conditions, resilience and innovation can light the way forward. In the aftermath of the floods, vast stretches of stagnant water blanket the land, transforming once lively villages into silent, shimmering pools. These waters are not just a reminder of nature's power. They are breeding grounds for disease, especially malaria. Mosquitoes multiply rapidly, their larvae wriggling just beneath the surface, waiting to emerge and spread illness with every bite. Healthcare is desperately scarce. Many communities are completely cut off by the floodwaters, isolated for weeks or even months. The few clinics that remain accessible are overwhelmed, run by exhausted NGO workers who struggle to keep up with the endless stream of patients. These clinics are lifelines, but their resources are stretched to the breaking point. Malaria strikes hardest at the most vulnerable, children and pregnant women. In these crowded clinics, the air is thick with worry. Every day, healthcare workers fight to save lives, but the reality is harsh. Several young children are lost each month, their families left to grieve in the shadow of the flood. The journey to medical care is a test of endurance and hope. Mothers, desperate to save their children, walk for hours, sometimes days, through waterlogged fields and muddy paths. Each step is a struggle, but the promise of treatment keeps them moving forward, even as exhaustion sets in. On makeshift islands formed by the receding waters, a single nurse may be responsible for hundreds of people. With only the most basic supplies, these healthcare workers battle illness and injury, improvising treatments and rationing medicine as best they can. Their dedication is unwavering, but the odds are daunting. The crisis is not limited to malaria. Waterborne diseases, cholera, typhoid and dysentery spread quickly in these conditions. With clean water scarce, families are forced to drink from contaminated sources, leading to waves of infection that further strain the fragile healthcare system. The fight against disease is relentless. Healthcare workers push themselves to the brink, taking only brief moments to rest before returning to the fray. Patients wait for hours, sometimes days, for a chance at treatment. The emotional and physical toll is immense, leaving everyone drained but determined. In this environment, every fever is a potential tragedy. For families, the fear is constant. Will their loved one survive the night, or will the floodwaters claim another victim? In South Sudan, health is as fragile as the land itself. The floods have not only destroyed homes and livelihoods, but have also left the very fabric of survival hanging by a thread. Yet even in the face of overwhelming adversity, the people of South Sudan fight on. The battle for survival is fought on every front, against the waters, against disease, and against despair. Their resilience is a testament to the strength of the human spirit. In South Sudan, childhood is not just interrupted, it is often lost entirely to the relentless crises that grip the nation. For many children, the simple joys of play and learning are replaced by the harsh realities of survival. Floods and grinding poverty force children out of school and into the workforce. Some, barely 8 years old, carry heavy planks or haul water for hours each day, earning only a few coins to help their families survive. Their hands, meant for pencils and play, are instead calloused by labour. Their work is not a choice, but a necessity. Every day these children shoulder responsibilities far beyond their years, providing vital support for their families. But this comes at a steep cost: the loss of education, the erosion of hope, and the fading of dreams for a better future. Schools, once places of promise, now stand empty or abandoned. Many children can only watch from the outside, yearning for the chance to learn. The cycle of poverty deepens as each generation is denied the opportunity to grow and thrive. The nation's future is at risk when its youngest citizens are forced to sacrifice their childhoods for survival. The dreams of a generation are put on hold, replaced by the daily struggle to make ends meet. Yet even in these harsh conditions, the resilience of South Sudan's children shines through. They support one another, showing compassion and responsibility far beyond their years. Their determination is a testament to the human spirit's ability to endure. These children carry burdens no child should ever have to bear, yet they do so with a quiet strength, refusing to give in to despair. The loss of education is an invisible wound, one that may never fully heal. Its consequences ripple through families and communities, shaping the future in ways that are hard to measure but impossible to ignore. In South Sudan, the struggle of the young is a mirror of the nation's own fight for survival and hope. Their resilience is remarkable, but the burden they bear is one no child should ever have to carry. When disaster strikes, the world often sees only the devastation. But in South Sudan, beneath the surface of floodwaters and hardship, a deeper story unfolds, a story of remarkable strength, unity, and unwavering hope. In the aftermath of the floods, people do not simply wait for help. They rise each morning to rebuild shattered homes, using salvaged materials and the collective effort of neighbours. Food, though scarce, is shared generously, and no one is left behind. The bonds of community become a lifeline, stronger than the rising waters. Across makeshift camps and isolated islands, families huddle together, pooling what little they have. In emergency shelters, strangers become friends, united by the shared struggle to survive. Children and elders alike find comfort in the presence of others, and every act of kindness becomes a beacon of hope. Hope is not just a distant dream here, it is woven into daily life. A fisherman braves the swollen rivers, determined to save enough for his children's education. A mother walks for miles through waterlogged fields to seek medicine for her sick child, refusing to give up. Each day people find ways to adapt, to endure, and to look after one another. Even in the harshest conditions, children find moments of joy. Their laughter echoes across the water as they play, reminding everyone that happiness can survive even in the most difficult times. These small moments of light are cherished by all. The resilience of South Sudan's people is not born of naivety. It is a hard-won belief, forged through years of hardship and loss. Faces etched with determination and hope look toward the future, refusing to surrender to despair. These are people who have survived war, displacement, and now face the relentless challenge of environmental catastrophe. Each step through the flooded landscape is a testament to their courage and endurance. The journey ahead is filled with uncertainty and danger. Families cross treacherous waters, braving storms and exhaustion, clinging to the hope that tomorrow will bring relief. Their willpower is tested daily, but it remains unbroken. International aid arrives and the world offers support, but the true strength of South Sudan lies within its people. Their resilience, their willingness to help one another, and their refusal to give up are what will ultimately shape the nation's future. Against all odds, the people of South Sudan stand together, determined not to let the floods wash away their dreams. They build barriers, reinforce homes, and face each new challenge with unwavering resolve. Their smiles, their laughter, and their hope are a testament to the enduring power of the human spirit. In South Sudan, even in the face of disaster, the unbreakable spirit of its people shines through, lighting the way toward a better tomorrow. Across South Sudan's vast plains, agriculture is not just a way of life, it is the foundation of survival. But when the relentless floods arrive, the land itself transforms. Once lush fields become endless lakes, crops are swallowed by water, and the promise of a harvest is washed away. For countless families, the loss is devastating. Sorghum, maize, and groundnuts, staples that once filled granaries, rot beneath the murky floodwaters. Farmers survey their submerged fields with heavy hearts, knowing that months of labor have been undone in a matter of days. The soil, saturated and stripped of nutrients, may not recover for seasons to come. Livestock, too, are at risk. Cattle and goats, vital for both food and income, are forced onto shrinking patches of dry ground. Many perish from hunger or disease, compounding the hardship for already struggling communities. Markets, once bustling with the colors and sounds of trade, now stand empty. Food prices soar and hunger becomes a daily reality for millions. The loss of crops ripples outward, affecting every aspect of life, from children's nutrition to families' ability to pay for school or medicine. Yet, amid the destruction, hope persists. Farmers and herders are adapting, planting flood-resistant crops where possible, and learning new techniques to cope with changing weather patterns. Communities organize seed-sharing initiatives, ensuring that no one is left without the means to start again when the waters recede. Aid organizations provide tools, seeds, and training, empowering South Sudan's people to reclaim their land. In small garden plots on higher ground, green shoots appear, a symbol of resilience and the determination to rebuild. The impact of floods on agriculture in South Sudan is profound, but with every new planting, every shared harvest, and every act of ingenuity, the people remain committed to feeding their families and restoring the land they love. The road to recovery is long, but hope grows alongside the crops, reaching for the sun above the floodwaters. As floodwaters continue to reshape South Sudan's landscape, help arrives from far beyond its borders. International aid agencies respond swiftly, mobilizing resources to meet the most urgent needs. Cargo planes touch down on makeshift runways, unloading sacks of grain, water purification tablets, and emergency medical supplies. Humanitarian convoys wind their way through muddy roads, their vehicles laden with food, blankets, and shelter materials. Aid workers partner closely with local communities, listening to their stories and learning from their resilience. They set up temporary clinics to treat waterborne diseases and malnutrition, while mobile teams deliver vaccines to children stranded by the floods. In the heart of displacement camps, safe spaces for women and children offer comfort and counseling, helping families heal from trauma. International funding supports the distribution of seeds and farming tools, laying the groundwork for recovery when the waters recede. Training sessions equip farmers with new skills, teaching them how to plant flood-resistant crops and manage the risks of a changing climate. Clean water points and latrines are installed, reducing the spread of disease and restoring dignity to daily life. But the road is not without obstacles. Security challenges, impassable roads and limited resources mean that aid sometimes takes days or even weeks to reach those in greatest need. Still, the commitment of the global community remains unwavering. Donations from individuals, governments and organizations fuel life-saving operations, while advocacy efforts keep South Sudan's crisis on the world's agenda. For many, these lifelines from afar mean the difference between hunger and hope, despair and determination. International aid does not solve every problem, but it offers a bridge, a chance for communities to survive, recover and rebuild. In the face of overwhelming challenges, the solidarity of strangers proves that South Sudan is not alone. The floodwaters may isolate villages, but the compassion of the world brings them back together, one act of kindness at a time. The floods in South Sudan are not just a human crisis. They are a force reshaping the very land itself. Aerial views reveal vast swathes of countryside swallowed by water, where once fields and villages thrived. Ancient trees stand half submerged, their roots weakened by the relentless currents. Rivers swollen far beyond their banks carve new paths across the plains, erasing old boundaries and creating a patchwork of temporary lakes. The natural balance is upended. Fertile topsoil is washed away, leaving behind barren patches that struggle to support new growth. In some areas, invasive aquatic plants take root, choking out native species and disrupting the delicate ecosystems that communities depend on. Wildlife is forced to migrate, seeking higher ground as their habitats disappear beneath the floodwaters. Cattle and goats, once the lifeblood of rural families, are scattered or lost, further straining the environment and livelihoods. As the waters linger, the risk of soil erosion grows. Once the floods recede, deep gullies and scars remain, making it even harder for farmers to reclaim their land. Fish stocks may briefly surge in the new wetlands, but the long-term impact is uncertain, as polluted waters threaten both wildlife and human health. The floods also bring unexpected challenges. Increased mosquito breeding grounds heighten the risk of malaria, while stagnant pools become breeding sites for disease. Traditional sources of firewood rot underwater, forcing families to cut down more trees and accelerate deforestation. Yet amidst the devastation, nature shows signs of resilience. New wetlands attract birds and aquatic life, and communities experiment with alternative crops suited to wetter soils. The environment is changing, sometimes for the worse, sometimes adapting in unexpected ways. These environmental shifts are a reminder that recovery is not just about rebuilding homes, but about healing the land itself. As South Sudan faces an uncertain future, the delicate relationship between people and their environment has never been more vital or more vulnerable. In the face of relentless floods, the people of South Sudan refuse to stand idle. Across submerged villages and waterlogged fields, a new spirit of unity emerges, one built on hope, ingenuity, and determination. Communities come together, pooling knowledge passed down through generations and adapting it to new challenges. In the Upper Nile, villagers work side by side to construct makeshift levees from mud, sandbags, and woven reeds, barriers that hold back the advancing waters, even if only for a while. In other regions, youth groups organize teams to dig channels and trenches, redirecting floodwaters away from homes and precious farmland. Women lead the effort to raise homes on earthen mounds, protecting families from the rising tide. Local leaders spearhead education campaigns, teaching neighbors how to purify water using simple methods, boiling, filtering, and solar disinfection, reducing the risk of waterborne diseases. Farmers experiment with new planting techniques and flood-resistant crops, sharing seeds and knowledge at community gatherings. Where fishing was once a solitary pursuit, it now becomes a cooperative effort, with neighbours sharing nets and dividing the catch to ensure no one goes hungry. Faith groups and youth organisations transform schools and churches into safe havens and distribution centres for food, clean water and medical supplies. In some areas, mobile phone networks are harnessed to coordinate relief efforts, sharing warnings about rising waters and organising evacuations before disaster strikes. These grassroots responses are not a replacement for outside help, but they are a testament to the power of local action. Through every setback, South Sudanese communities show that resilience is not just about surviving the floods. It's about rising together, forging new solutions, and reclaiming the future from the waters. As the floodwaters persist, it is the spirit of unity and innovation at the heart of these community-led initiatives that offers the greatest hope for South Sudan. A hope built not just on rebuilding what was lost, but on forging a stronger tomorrow together. As the floodwaters slowly recede, the scars they leave behind run deeper than the waterlines etched on village walls. The true cost of the deluge in South Sudan is measured not only in lost homes and uprooted lives, but in years, perhaps generations, of economic hardship. Entire fields, once the lifeblood of rural families, lie buried beneath layers of silt and debris. Crops that survived the initial floods often rot in waterlogged soil, while livestock, a crucial source of wealth and nutrition, are swept away or succumb to disease. For many, the prospect of rebuilding herds and replanting fields is daunting, with seed stocks depleted and grazing lands transformed into marshes. Markets, once bustling with trade, now face shortages as transportation routes remain impassable and local production grinds to a halt. The price of staple foods soars, putting basic meals out of reach for countless households. Small businesses, already fragile, struggle to recover as customers and capital vanish with the waters. The economic ripple effects reach far beyond the countryside. In towns and cities, displaced families arrive in search of work and shelter, overwhelming limited services, and deepening competition for scarce jobs. Children pulled from school to help their families survive risk missing out on education and the future opportunities it brings. Aid flows in, but it cannot replace lost livelihoods. The cycle of poverty tightens, making it harder for families to invest in seeds, tools, or livestock for the next season. For many, the floods are not a single disaster, but the beginning of a prolonged struggle to recover and adapt. Yet within this hardship lies a call to action. Rebuilding South Sudan's economy will require not only outside investment, but also the resilience and creativity that its people have shown in the face of crisis. From new farming methods to alternative sources of income, the path forward demands innovation, partnership, and an unwavering belief in a better future. As the land dries and life returns, the economic challenges ahead are immense, but so too is the spirit of the South Sudanese people. Their determination to rebuild, adapt, and thrive will shape the nation's recovery for years to come. While the physical destruction wrought by South Sudan's floods is plain to see, the invisible wounds carried by survivors run just as deep. For many residents, the trauma is not only in what they have lost, but in the uncertainty that now shadows every day. The relentless sound of rain on rooftops, once a promise of life, now stirs memories of terror, of rushing waters, frantic escapes, and the fear of never returning home. Children, especially, bear silent burdens. Nightmares disrupt their sleep. Sudden noises trigger panic. In makeshift camps, young ones draw pictures of submerged homes and missing friends, trying to make sense of a world upended. Parents, meanwhile, wrestle with guilt and helplessness, haunted by the choices they made to protect their families, plagued by anxiety over an uncertain future. Communities that once found strength in togetherness now grapple with the strain of displacement and loss. Traditional gatherings and rituals are interrupted, and with them, the sense of belonging that anchors people in times of crisis. The stress of crowded shelters, the absence of familiar faces, and the daily struggle for survival erode even the strongest bonds. Mental health support is scarce. Many survivors cope in silence, their pain masked by daily chores and the drive to rebuild. For some, the weight of grief and hopelessness becomes overwhelming, leading to depression or withdrawal. Others find solace in faith, storytelling, or helping neighbors. Small acts of resilience that light the darkest days, yet amidst the hardship the people of South Sudan demonstrate remarkable courage. Community leaders and aid workers are beginning to recognize the importance of psychological healing. Safe spaces for children, peer support groups, and trauma counseling are slowly taking root, nurturing hope alongside recovery. The path to healing is long, and scars may linger, but as the nation rebuilds its homes and livelihoods, so too must it tend to the hearts and minds of its people. For true recovery means not only mending what the floods have broken, but also restoring the spirit that endures beneath the surface. To truly understand the devastation brought by today's floods, we must look back through the centuries, into the very heart of South Sudan's history. The Sud, one of the world's largest wetlands, has long shaped the rhythms of life here. For generations, the annual floods of the White Nile were both a blessing and a challenge, nourishing grazing lands and replenishing crops, while also forcing communities to adapt to shifting waters. Historically, the people of South Sudan developed unique ways to live with the floods. Nomadic pastoralists moved their cattle to higher ground, while farmers planted crops timed to the rise and fall of the river. Traditional stilt houses and floating villages became common sights, reflecting an intimate knowledge of the land's cycles. But these natural patterns began to change in the late 20th century. Civil wars, the construction of upstream dams, and deforestation disrupted the balance between people and the environment. The frequency and severity of floods increased, and communities found themselves less able to cope. Climate change has only deepened these challenges, bringing heavier rains and unpredictable seasons. South Sudan's story of flooding is not just one of disaster, but also of resilience and adaptation. The past reveals a people who have always found ways to endure and rebuild, even as the waters rise. By understanding this history, we gain insight into both the hardships faced today and the enduring strength that continues to define South Sudan's spirit. As the cycles of flood and recovery grow ever more intense, a new chapter is emerging in South Sudan's long struggle against rising waters, one shaped by innovation and technology. Across the flood-prone regions, engineers, aid organizations, and local communities are working together to bring modern solutions to ancient challenges. In the heart of the Sud wetlands, solar-powered water pumps are being deployed to redirect excess water from submerged villages back into river channels. These pumps, run by the sun's energy, provide a lifeline for communities cut off by floodwaters, helping to restore access to homes and farmlands. Satellite technology now plays a critical role in flood management. Real-time data from space allows experts to monitor rainfall, river levels, and the spread of floodwaters with unprecedented accuracy. This information enables early warning systems, giving communities precious time to prepare, evacuate, or safeguard their livestock and crops. Drones are also taking to the skies above South Sudan. With their bird's-eye view, drones map flooded areas, assess damage, and identify safe routes for aid delivery. In some regions, they even help locate stranded families, guiding rescue teams to those most in need. On the ground, innovative building techniques are taking hold. Raised earth embankments, constructed with local materials and reinforced by new engineering methods, offer protection against encroaching waters. Pilot projects are testing flood-resistant crops, genetically adapted to survive in waterlogged soils, ensuring a more secure food supply for vulnerable communities. Mobile apps, designed in collaboration with local leaders, are connecting people to vital information, weather alerts, safe evacuation routes, and resources for rebuilding. These digital lifelines empower even the most remote villages to stay informed and resilient. While the challenges remain immense, these technological breakthroughs are reshaping the way South Sudan confronts its floods. Each innovation, whether powered by the sun, guided by satellites or built by hand, represents hope for a future where people and water can coexist more safely. In the story of South Sudan's floods, technology is becoming a new tool for survival, adaptation, and ultimately renewal. While technology offers powerful tools to combat the floods, another force, less visible but just as vital, is shaping the resilience of South Sudan's communities' education. Across the floodplains and remote villages, the classroom has become an unlikely front line in the battle against rising waters. In schools perched on higher ground, teachers weave lessons about flood preparedness into daily learning. Children learn how to read weather signs, understand early warning messages, and recognize safe evacuation routes. Simple exercises like drawing maps of their villages help students visualize escape paths and identify high ground. These lessons ripple outward as children share life-saving knowledge with their families at home. Community workshops, often led by local educators and aid workers, bring together people of all ages. Here, participants practice emergency drills, learn first aid, and discuss ways to protect vital documents and livestock. In these gatherings, traditional wisdom meets modern science, creating a rich tapestry of adaptation strategies. Radio broadcasts, a staple in even the most isolated communities, deliver educational programs about flood risks and safety tips. In places where schools are disrupted by floods, these broadcasts ensure that learning and preparedness never stops. For many, education is more than just academic, it's about empowerment. Girls and women, often the first to respond in a crisis, are gaining skills to lead their communities in times of disaster. Young people are being trained as peer educators, spreading awareness and building networks of support. The impact of these efforts is profound. In villages where flood education is a priority, families evacuate sooner, casualties are fewer, and recovery is faster. Over time, a culture of preparedness takes root, turning knowledge into a lifeline that endures long after the waters recede. In South Sudan, every lesson learned is a step toward a safer future. By investing in education, communities are not just surviving the floods, they are building the foundation for resilience, hope, and renewal. As the floodwaters reshape the land, they also flow into the heart of South Sudanese culture, altering rituals, ceremonies, and the rhythms of daily life. For generations, the people of South Sudan have woven their identities into the landscape. The seasons guiding harvest festivals, ancestral graves nestled in family compounds, and age-old dances performed beneath the open sky. But when the rivers rise and the plains are swallowed by water, these cherished traditions face new challenges. Sacred sites, once the center of community gatherings, are lost beneath the waves, forcing ceremonies to move to unfamiliar ground. Weddings, initiations, and funerals, rich with song and storytelling, must adapt to cramped shelters or makeshift tents, their intimacy strained by displacement. The communal cattle camps, a cornerstone of social life and cultural exchange, scatter as herders search for dry land. With each move, elders strive to pass down oral histories and customary laws, but the sense of continuity is fragile. Floods disrupt the agricultural calendar, making it difficult to hold harvest celebrations or honor ancestral spirits with the first fruits of the season. Traditional crafts, from basket weaving to pottery, suffer as raw materials become scarce and artisans are forced to migrate. Even cuisine changes, as familiar ingredients are replaced by emergency rations. Yet amid the upheaval, resilience shines through. Communities find new ways to honor their heritage, holding ceremonies by candlelight, reviving ancient songs that speak of survival, and sharing stories that blend memory with hope. Elders and youth alike become custodians of culture, ensuring that though the setting may change, the spirit endures. In the face of the floods, South Sudanese traditions bend, adapt, and persist, reminding all that identity is as enduring as the land itself, no matter how high the waters rise.